Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sathology, Debunking Mythology. It's always our endeavor to promote truth and also to showcase that Vedic scriptures are scientific. Uh, they give you the basis on which you can conduct your experiments. I can say that. So many chemists today, so I can always say that. Now, coming back to today's topic, we have very eminent guests from India. Is educationist. He has many students in India, and he has been the head of many universities, being the vice chancellor, and probably we'll see him in some bigger role this time in future. So, without delay, let
Thank
us
you.
welcome Professor ADN Bajpai.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you and namaskar. Welcome, Professor Bajpai. So today,
Thank you, Aditya.
people in the West, and I can tell you that most of you will agree with me, they keep actions completely separate from the faith. So action is different and faith is different, and there is a big struggle to merge the two. Whereas in the Vedic philosophy or the Indian philosophy, purusharth is considered the basis of a spiritual life or any commonsensical life. It's a dharmic life or commonsensical life. So where does this difference start? And after that, we can talk about more about Purusharth. But what do you see from your point of view?
Uh, Aditya, going deeper to the very concept of life itself, the our rishis have understood the life as it is, whereas our Western philosophers they could understood life as they can see the visible part of life itself. That's why there is a difference between faith and karma, faith and action. If you're just digging the well, drilling deeper, and get the fresh water is sprouted out of it, drink it, and realize the beauty of that water, there is no difference as such. So, faith, religion is one part of the story, and dharma is the real part of the story. In our last episodes, we discussed about
Exactly.
dharma, how and why
Yeah.
to behave in day to day life as such. So, when you are having dharma within you, so your entire action from sunrise to sunset to again sunrise will be full of dharma. There shall not be any difference, conflict, or struggle between our faith within and action outside, isn't it?
So
Yes,
great
Aditya.
answer, great point, and great answer, and I think very educative for people. So another one which comes to now Purushartha. So how do we define? It's a very simple term for people who understand it. It's very difficult for people who don't want to understand it. It really depends on the person. So, but we have seen that. So, how do you define purushartha?
Actually, Aditya, coming to your earlier part of this sentence, there are some persons who don't want to understand at all. There are some persons who really attempt to understand, but they are also incapacitated to comprehend the real meaning of the concepts. And to me, I would like to just tell all my viewers of the states and others In India, words are not words. They are complete vigrah.
Exactly.
They are personified, you see, persons. They are persons like us. And they don't reveal their, you see, inner self to everyone. Suppose, as you told in our see, last episode, that so many Americans are coming to India and going to Rishikesh for decoding Sanskrit words, understanding Sanskrit concepts. They can understand the grammar of see, Sanskrit words. They can, the philosophers, the professors here also in Rishikesh can explain the dimensions, the synonyms, the acronyms, the grammar, and everything. But the real inner self of the word, the concept will be revealed by the word itself, word himself, word herself. That's why sadhana is very much important. As I take my own case, I have been, you see, worshipping these words since long. I am telling worshipping words. And these words also have revealed sometimes some aspect of his shape, sometimes the other shape. The complete, they did not reveal to me. Now, when I am at the end of my life, they are revealing its fullest form as such. So, when it comes to Purushartha, Purushartha has got to see many shades. In common parlance, people say Purushartha means entrepreneurship, some endeavors, some attempts to achieve something. In one of my say lecture when I was delivering at Varanasi itself, so the convener was saying that Purushartha means meaning of masculinity. I shouted at him, "What nonsense you are talking, gentlemen? It's not." So, cutting short, number one, India is a country who has given the purpose of life. It does not mean, you see, other countries and their cultures have not given purposes to their lives of their persons. Like in Westerns, eat, drink, and be merry is the purpose of life. But it's not a complete purpose, it's a limited purpose of life. It's a relative purpose of life. It's instinctual purpose of life. In India, the Purushartha is the complete purpose of life, where we have this Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. These are the fourth dimension of Purushartha. So, number one, the exact meaning of Purushartha is meaning of Purush. Meaning of Purush. Essence of Purush. Isn't it? But who is that Purush? Purush not man, women. Purush not any species on the earth. Purush is that Brahma, that cosmic man, cosmic power, Brahma, Satya, Ishvara, is the Purush.
Exactly.
And the Purushartha are the four parts of that particular Brahma, that cosmic power as such. So, Purushartha means meaning of that Brahma who has been fully explained in our Rigved. We are a great scholar of Sanskrit and Veda also have done a lot. On the 10th Sukta of Rigved, which is known as Purush Sukta, I think 16 mantras are there. And that mantra say that this Purush has got, thousands of his eyes, thousands of his legs, thousands of minds. This moon, sun, all varnas, all entire creation have been created by this Purush. Right? It's complete picture of entire creation. So that is Purush. And meaning of that Purush is Purushartha. It's not merely meaning. It's not merely meaning of that. Purushartha, the Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, which I'll just explain after some words. The Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, most of the philosophers, Aditya, come across. The Purushartha means dharma, artha, kama, moksha, purusharth, chatushtha, the four parts of Siddha dharma. Dharma is this, karma is this, artha is this, and moksha is this, salvation is like that. They just call it like that. Purusharth are not these four dimensions. These four are those methods, those attempts through which meaning of Purush can be, you see, revealed to the individual. Through dharma, through karma, through artha, through moksha. These are the mediums, they are the paths, they are the streams through which the revelation of Brahma, revelation of Purush, comes to. That's the real essence of Purusha. And these type of explanations have not come across in our literature because Purushartha hasn't revealed, you see, these meanings to the all individual grammar research for linguistics. They can be revealed only to sadhaks like me or sadhaks like you.
I'm so
Okay,
glad.
Aditya.
I'm so glad you put that definition out.
Thank you.
Very few
Thank you.
people will be actually saying that, because the in Shastra, if people read, and I think it will bust many men's egos also, that Prakriti is many, Purush is only one. So everyone else is Prakriti. There's only one Purush. So if people who are celebrating masculinity based on this word, Purushartha, then I think they're going to search me on internet onwards. And also you put it very nicely that Purush is Sandhi Vichhed if you do, or etymologically break the word, Sanskrit word, Purush and Artha. If you put it so well. So coming back to now this word Purushartha, which scholars minimize it, and I call it they create mythology out of it, and not coming to the essence of this word, which you correctly pointed out. Now there is a word comes Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Sanusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Pradasa. This is a simple Krishna's is from Bhagavad Gita shloka. So the word comes Kavi, and the Purusharth is also there. And I can say you are also a Kavi because Kavi means a very learned man. So when you say Purushartha and its daily usage in our lives or the goals to achieve through Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha, which these are just the four paths or stages you can have, but all of them are important, worth pursuing. All these are goals worth pursuing. So when people they get stuck in these just the four words there which define Purushartha. So before I go there, what is your view on who can actually attain Purushartha or who cannot do Purushartha? Either of those two.
Aditya, nobody is on earth, living or not living, animate.
Your voice is not coming. Can you repeat, please? Your voice is not coming.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Am I audible? Yes.
Yes.
I think. So I was just telling you, Aditya, nobody is there in this whole of universe, whether living or not living, animate, inanimate, all stars, who are not pursuing Purushartha. Everybody is Purusharthi. The animals are also Purusharthi. Trees are Purusharthi. Rivers, rivulets are Purusharthi. Mountains are Purusharthi. Clouds and animals. Everybody is Purusharthi. But the difference is there. Why you see man means a person, including women, everybody, is superior breed, you see, than others. That I would like to explain. Because all you see other parts of the universe, they have got their own dharma, they have got their own artha, they have their own karma also. But moksha is not there. They're totally, you see, natural, they're totally, you see, instinctual. And the modern society, which has been created by the Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau, based upon the natural order, they have taken, you see, tenets from, you see, nature. But nature should be sublimed. Natural order should be sublimed and also elevated to be logically, you see, elevated to that level where salvation, you see, liberation, you see, comes. And that is only possible when you deliberately do the things with a logic, with a mind, with all this intellectual order like that, which is not is available in the natural order. Tree is there, animals are there, birds are there, flowers are there. They have got their own dharma, and their dharma is more fundamental than the human being. I'll tell you, as lion is non-vegetarian, you cannot make him as a vegetarian. An elephant is non-vegetarian. You cannot make him non-vegetarian at all. So these are the natural order. They are performing their own. They have got their own eating. They are behaving. Their mating seasons also. All animals they are. This is a man only who has made his life a style different from others. Different part. Dharma, Artha, and Kama Moksha. Some Western philosophers and Indian philosophers have done a lot of harm to these concepts. Number one, they have compartmentalized. As you told that faith and karma, faith and actions are different. In India also, when people philosophy of dharma is like that, there were so many tenets of the dharma. Artha is like that. They give the artha. Kama is like that, and moksha. They will teach you see artha, dharma, kama, and moksha in a different manner. No, it's a wrong explanation of see Purushartha Chatushtaya. Here you see professor of mathematics also. So many mathematics professors are there. We have a matrix form. Everybody you see, it's a basic of mathematics, matrix. So suppose in a rows we are having dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In column also we are having dharma, artha, and kama, moksha. And then we fit in all the 4 by 4 matrix. Dharma is there in artha, kama, and moksha. Artha is there dharma, kama, and moksha. Kama is there in artha, dharma, and kama, and moksha is all pervading. Moksha is all pervading. As I told you earlier, that moksha is the absolute blessing of human beings only, and artha, dharma, and kama are available in animal and other you see flora fauna also. So I say Purushartha is mokshartha. Purushartha is mokshartha. For moksha only, one should try to see pursue all these dharma, artha, and kama moksha. And that is possible only when our artha is also dharma prerit, dharma oriented. Our kama is also dharma oriented. And from all these three, we would not want to liberate ourselves to obtain that is a stage of salvation. That is the real essence of Purushartha. If this type of explanation is brought to our day-to-day behavior, there shall not be see any conflict between action and faith, which you told earlier.
So very the ancient people and knowledgeable people, and I'll call it you also as modern rishi because you're a thinker, you're a scientist in thoughts, and you're a great economist also. So Bhim tells Yudhishthir that from dharma comes earth. From earth has to be used again in the service of dharma. If you do not do that, then it results in kama. And Krishna says of kama, producing a good child who follows dharma is also dharma. It doesn't remain kama. That's a service there. And then from dharma comes and artha comes also moksha. And so there is a very simple language he says because Bhim doesn't have time for very complex words. He uses very simple language to communicate straight. But in reply, Yudhishthir. So in the four uh, goals, I call it, or the objectives, because it is not just a, like you explained very well, that they have to be used. They're meant for understanding someone else, the one. Uh, so when we say this, people, or you can put some throw some more light on it, that every major person in the world, whether they're great rishis, great sages, great Narad Muni, everyone has either fought for dharma or tried to protect dharma or protect the uh, the followingship of dharma or teach dharma. So, what is the most important thing in Chatur? And then we'll come to other Purushartha as well.
Adit, as I told you, in Purushartha Chatushtaya, as you already you see, reiterated some of the couplets from Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata. See, dharma is important, but dharma alone cannot lead you to salvation. It will have to be combined with artha and kama. No doubt, you see, in order, suppose if I am supposed to make an order of all these purushartha, certainly salvation, moksha is the superlative degree. But things begin at kama. Kama means desires. Desires come from the instinct or is the senses. Then comes the artha. Artha may be wealth or the worldly knowledge or some satisfaction from mind as such. Then should come dharma. Dharma means connecting your mind with soul. So kama from body, artha from mind, and then you see the dharma, soul, and all three you see mingling together will give you salvation. So if choice was given to me as a rishi, so instead of dharma, artha, kam, I would get kam, artha, dharma, and moksha. This should be the order as such. Number one, you see, just you told these four goals are required to know somebody else. No, that else is living in our body. Yat Pinde Tad Brahmande, this is Ghatakash, that is Chidakash. We are the part. So these four goals are essential to understand that element which is existing in our body, which is immortal, that is which is known as Atma. That Atma is the part of that Paramatma. Is Param Brahma, and we are also Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi, so Brahmasmi, Prakanam Brahma. This Adi Shankaracharya has given like this one. So what I mean to say that dharma, in last episode also we discussed a lot. Dharma is not any dogma, it is not any principle, it is not any law as such. Dharma is that essence of each actions, each word, which is selfless, leads to behavior of the outer world, leads to paropukara, daya, love, like that. So this dharma is directly attached with our soul as such. So the behavioral pattern of soul is dharma. So there are certain characteristics of soul. Soul is omnipresent. So if you are just not taking in the individual plots, individual geographical area for your consideration, you're taking entire globe under consideration, then you are spiritual, then you are dharmic. This soul was present in ancient time, today also, and next time also. So if eternality, if you're not dividing time into different parts, is ancient, is medieval, is modern, your time in immortality, in eternality, then also you are dharmic. And the soul exists in each individual, entire flora, fauna, in animate, if you're not discriminating whether man and man you see nature, or in universal different tenets, then also a dharmic. So dharmic dharma means not being partial, not being prejudiced, not being discriminatory. You should just see the person as he or she is and behave as the person sitting before you is just you are. Atmana Pratikulanam Paresham na Samacharit. That soul which exists in your body, that same soul is living in the body which you are seeing before you. So just treat the next person, the other person, like you only. Then that's the real essence of dharma will come. If that comes, then you cannot commit sin, you cannot abuse, You cannot hate. You can't let other persons remain hungry like that. So that behavior, that outer behavior, is the byproduct of that inner chemistry. And that comes to see after great to see realizations and sadhana.
Great answer. And I think I caught on to one word you said, unos and uno and the numero uno. Now, the word university comes from uno, the place where that uno has to be discovered. And that was the original purpose of university to be found by the Christians in the Western world. Now, you gave the definition of that uno, which most of the people don't even dare to talk about nowadays because of whatever the status of education in the West is concerned. There are many universities talk about all different topics, and no one talks about this uno. So, as an educationist, Purushartha, you just connected with this unos, which is self, or which you explained as Atma. Why is that such important education missing from the world universities, including we have so many attendees today from different universities today and decision makers also. So how is that information about the UNOs missing in all the universities? And so after a person passes out from the university, actually there is a joke in India that entering a university is my responsibility, taking out is their responsibility. So so everyone gets their degrees and comes out of the university because they're either they passed out or somebody pushed them out because they could not maintain them any longer. So what is the education system should be that should respect this, or what is lacking there that people come out confused? So an engineer is doing the job of an accountant is trying to work in the retail shops, he's doing merchandising, and so all these things are happening and everyone is still searching. They're still not, hearts are not satisfied.
Aditya, because people don't know the real purpose of their life, their birth, why have they come on this earth as such. There was a time in India when we had to see many universities. I think they were knowing the real meaning of whether it's Nalanda or Takshashila or Vikramshila or Avantika. They were imparting universal knowledge which was relevant, which was relevant, all the times relevant. It is relevant today also. India, we had Gurukuls also. All types of education along with skills and training were given to them. 64 kalas were given to them. But afterwards, there was a Dikshanta Samaroh in Taittiriya Upanishad. Beautifully explained that Satyam Vad. And it was common for all. Whether he's an engineer, whether he's a doctor, whether he's a lawyer, whether he's a teacher, anybody, any streams he has followed. Satyam Vad, Dharmam Char, Swadhyaya Ma Pramitavabhim, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. These are 5, 6 mantras. They are given to everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, and color, irrespective of discipline, irrespective of belonging to any stream like that. So, if that is focused again, then things can be regained. But what is happening in this materialistic world? Our purposes have become very myopic, very short is centered, very individualistic, very materialistic. So we want to see instant results. Here, getting some education, there, getting some job. Third, like that. So people are just wandering in this rat race of employment, somewhere in progress, some postmongers, and this has just vanished the essence of education. Education was to make the student learn, understand that element which is existing in his body, that is Atma. And we all know Kathopanishad, Nachiketa Niyam Samvad. If that Kathopanishad is made the main part of education everywhere, I think, essential part of education everywhere, I think most of the things can be understood, say, properly. And India is also not an exception. What is happening in the West is also being happening here also in India also. In most of the universities, the colleges, these management and engineering institutes, we are producing all good number of students, but not the real citizens, not the knowledgeable persons who can spread the message of Indian education worldwide.
You took the name of Nalanda, and for viewers, I can tell you the first university in the world was India, Nalanda in Takshila. And and you also mentioned some very important point where you also mentioned the difference between the skill and education. The two different things you said. Skill is also an education, but education is something else. Shiksha or the knowledge of is much deeper. So, and I think what you also adhere to was the knowledge about values and character. And you quoted the Rigveda shloka, Pita Devo Bhava, Mata Devo Bhava, Acharya Deva Bhava, where you said the respect to these three people are very important. People, you put the Mata first, and the Veda always maintain Mata is the first guru. And because Pita is always busy in working, and then Pita obviously shows the direction to the whole family. And Acharya Deva Bhava, Acharya means an experienced teacher. He's also because he gives you education. But the respect to all these three has virtually vanished. And I can say, and many of the people who are living here in the States can say that the respect to teachers, respect to mothers, respect to fathers is literally vanished. And because of commercialization of education, you can see that the student takes heavy loans to complete their education. Throughout the life they pay the loans, so for them they see the teacher as someone who is just flourishing on their money, so that respect automatically goes away. And very few people know, in Asia, India has the largest number of universities, and Europe combined put together, India has more universities than entire Europe put together. Now, if you compare the, if you say that, if we say that India has such an old tradition of education, uh, where where is India setting a global standard for education for the West also? Because so far in last 70 years or 80 years, India accepts or tries to take approval from the West, or tries to model their education on the Western pattern, when they were the source of the education. They had maintaining the biggest libraries. So how can now India, and this will be my last question of this, continue later on. So how can India start becoming a standard for education, for especially related to Purushartha is such an important topic?
See, Aditya, what has happened? India is is one of those, unfortunate, countries which were being, ruled by Britishers. And India is more unfortunate because it was under control of Mughals also. And both have, ruined our education system, our language, tried to ruin our culture, civilization, everything. Even economy also, they ruined everything. After independence, India could have taken a recourse of restructuring, restoring its own, basic ancient knowledge basis. Could have developed its knowledge economy, on the basis of indigenous knowledge systems. In one of my lectures earlier, somewhere I don't remember, I think in Gujarat, as I told you that if you cannot import roads from outside, if you cannot import railways from outside, if you can import the airways from outside, how can you import the knowledge from outside? If India want to develop its own economy, its own knowledge economy, it should be based on the strong foundation of ancient indigenous knowledge system, of which Sanskrit is the basic. So after independence, India could have done it, but India missed the bus. And in today also, under this national education policy, a lot of things are being talked about ancient knowledge systems and everything. But I doubt that how things can be implemented, because the teachers, the students, the administrators, the managers, the bureaucrats, the politicians have got all polluted mindset. They don't have that appropriate mindset which can do the things. But I am quite hopeful if persons like Adit Satsangi, sitting far, far away, just kind of Sat Samandar Par, working on cytology and connecting persons like Adian Bajpayee here in Jabalpur, a small town in central India. And there were so many persons who are working on the show. So this is a small, lamps twinkling at different places will certainly lead a march of that ancient knowledge systems. Those words will explain their, reveal their inner wealth to these sadhaks, and with this help only we'll develop our own knowledge systems, which will lead the light to the world, and we'll obtain that, we'll try to regain that lost glory of Vishwaguru.
Thank you for your kind words, Professor Bajpayee. Many of the students who are who are seeing this show live, one constant thing for all of them, and we have virtually crossed a couple of thousand people right now live, and
Thank you.
many of them treat yoga as the ultimate mechanism of peace and happiness. And while they are very highly education qualified, I give three kudos to them, because I know how the entrance to these prominent universities happen, and how much they work hard to getting the education, including working private jobs. So they value the education too much. And I thank all the viewers who are watching also, who are in that process. Now, these people know the value of education, but they get peace, happiness, and more motivation for education from yoga. And these discussions, like Purushartha discussions, which they are hearing for the first time, some of them are hearing for the first time, many of them hearing for the first time. It is, I'm getting comments, very funny comments also, but so they value this far more and far more commonsensical than entire years of education they put together. And we have just done one show. So where is the human inquisitiveness, human capability matching with today's modern education? And I'm talking from the global perspective, not just India.
You see, man is inquisitive as per nature to ascertain the uncertainties. That is a natural instinct exists in all body systems. I'll give you complete discourse on this yoga and spirituality if you wish to. In those things, I'll just explain so many tenets and nuances of yoga, how can connect it. Peace, if you're just involving totally yourself in this mundane, materialistic, worldly affairs, you cannot obtain peace as such. Out of dharma, artha, kam, Dharma, Artha, Kam, if one is involved in dharmic karya or arthik karya and you see kamic karya, you cannot obtain peace as such. You are going to chapel, you are going to mandir, you are going to masjid, you are going to everywhere performing, you see, dharmic puja, you cannot obtain peace. Peace you can obtain only when you are entering into the realm of moksha.
Hmm.
And moksha is salvation. Salvation and liberation. Liberation is means transcendental, which you just joked us last time. Transcendental is something like that. I'll explain that concept also. And transcendental means, and in India, entire literature, everything, all concepts are nothing but transcendenting individual minds from three, you see, aspects. That is three dimensions. One is uh, one is what I, space, time, and person. Space, time, and matter. If you're just involving yourself when there's three dimensions, uh, space, time, and matter only, you cannot get peace. Peace you can get only when you're transcendenting these three dimensions. You are just moving away from time, away from space, away from the persons. That's why you see, when you just take the pills of sleeping pills or tranquility pills like that, isn't there? So many pills are coming. You get some peace, some solace, but they are suppressing your nervous system. That is not real. And then when sleep, you are sleeping, deep sleep, you get peace. But sleep also is not the complete to see peace. Peace comes only when you are meditating. And that meditation is part of yoga. That's why when students go to yoga, they get peace.
Very beautifully explained, and I think you opened up many more topics for this show between you and me. And for viewers also, there's one aspect I also want to spread or talk about is Kal, Prakriti, and the three guna of Prakriti. Because uh,
Yes.
without guna education, people cannot decide how to progress in this purushartha. That is the essence of our education. Also, they can recognize guna. So we'll come upon that. Thank you, viewers, for watching and patiently listening. I know it was the topic was you found it very interesting, but more to be said. You all have questions, but our time window in the universities is less. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for view. If you have any questions, do comment, and this video will be posted on the networks when as soon as it is finished. And do comment on YouTube. Thank you and namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you, Aditya. Namaskar.